You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. I am Daniel.
I'm Clint, and this is John. John tweets sports. How you doing, brother?
Hey, doing great. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you back. A quick reminder before Daniel starts talking and I don't get the microphone back. Today's episode is brought to you by Netsuite, the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth. Head to netsuite.com/locked for special end of the year financing. I now hand it over. John. Okay, John, we're carrying the podcast now. We're carrying the podcast. Thin Skin Daniel is back. Daniel, it's not Monday yet.
It's National Championship Week. Thin Skin Daniel is alive and well. You can't even. I'll be just curled up in a ball in the corner back there. You won't hear from me again. Listen, fellas. Firstly, before we jump into content today, welcome to the show. By the way, YouTube, audio, wherever you get your podcast, or right here on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. Leave us a comment, subscribe to both places. Tell a friend about the show if you know a Georgia fan. But we're talking about the national championship, which is obvious. We're talking about Georgia, Alabama, which is obvious. Yesterday, we asked the question: Are Alabama fans secretly terrified of losing to Georgia? And it turns out that it's not such a secret. They are. And it shows in the comments. Just your insecurities bubble to the surface in the comments. You try to hide them, and yet here they are. Today we're going to be talking about what needs to happen for each team to win the game. If this happens, which team will win? If this happens, which team will win? So we're going to be going through some of those things. Before we get into that, we should say John's not really from John Tweet Sports. He is from an actual media outlet. He's a member of the media, Clint. You're not the only member of the media on the podcast. You know that, right? I know you are the guy out here just asking all your media questions to all your media.
This is, by the way, unfortunately, this is the face of Locked On Bulldogs, which is T's and P's to all of you all.
That's why when you were on the Sets a Minute press conference and asked your question, they had the video off.
Just said the name. They knew.
Clint had it on, but the CFP was like, nope. Nope. John is the proprietor of Dog Dispatch, fantastic website, newsletter, information on the Georgia Bulldogs, dogdispatch.com. Get over there, subscribe to the newsletter, sign up. What you dropping this week for the Natty? It's Thursday now, so stuff's already out. Or
So the newsletter comes out on Wednesdays and Fridays is the typical normal schedule. So Wednesdays has already hit the pressers. You'll get one more tomorrow, and we're going to unload the barrel on some of the stuff we'll talk about today, some of the stats, but we're also going to unload the barrel on what this win would mean for Nick Saban and what it would mean for Kirby Smart. So we're going to break that down on Friday's newsletter. So get ready.
If you got any extra words in the newsletter, maybe just put a little quick blurb in there of what it would mean for me. Just if
absolutely,
you want to,
I'll put it.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think
Thank
for all of Georgia sports content creators, it means we don't have to move on to basketball.
We just keep talking about it. We will just keep talking about it forever. All right, fellas, I've been sitting on this question that's been rolling around in my mind. And so this is how I want to start the conversation, but then we'll ask questions similar to it. But this is the one that's been just heavy in my brain these last few days as I've tried to go about, work. Are you trying to work this week, Georgia fans? Like it's tough. It's tough sledding to focus on anything. Here's my question. What is the most points that Alabama can score and Georgia can still win the game? I'm talking about has a chance to win the game, a reasonable chance to win the game. What's the most points Georgia can allow?
Top ceiling. Not what we think, not what we hope.
Yeah.
But
so let's say the defense comes out and doesn't have their best game of the season again,
Yep.
what's the worst it could be that you would say we could still win that game? We might not. We probably won't, but we could still.
You want to go first, Clint?
I do.
Go for it.
You're not going to like my answer. And part of the reason you're not going to like my answer is because
it's like 3. You're going to say 3 points.
0. Defense got a shutout. Got to have a shutout.
No, here's why I think Bama could score 37 and we still have a shot. Wow. Nobody's going to like it. I know. Wow. Here's the reason why. 37 points in a college football final game, like things get weird in the college football playoff. Okay. I don't think they're going to, but if 37 points is out there, I think this offense in rhythm, not being stupid and not turning over the ball. At this point, 37 points means that the offense has to play like you can't give up a turnover. You can't go for it on 4th inside the red zone. Like you have to execute. And I think execution wise, we can get 38 points in a game going back and forth with Alabama with the type of offense we have to take off some time and keep it. We can play that game. We can keep it from Alabama's offense just enough. They score 37. I think we can score 38. That's my answer.
Yeah, let me just comment on that before you answer, John. I do think what you said was the back and forth. I think that's key because if the score of the game is 37-3, Georgia's not winning that game. You know, like if it's because that's out of rhythm, like that's out of. But if it's an Aaron Murray versus LSU type of situation, and it's just a wild shootout, but it's back and forth, and no team's ahead by more than a touchdown or 10 points the entire game. I think, yes, there is a scenario where the Georgia offense is just rolling, and they could come out and do that. That's still a higher number than I would give. John, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna give 27. I think for me, I think Georgia definitely has the athletes, has the opportunity to get in rhythm on offense. In the SEC championship game, Georgia had 12 possessions versus Alabama. Now, granted, some of that was because Alabama was scoring quickly, but they had a lot of possessions in the game. I think Georgia has the opportunity to score 31, 34, maybe pushing up to 38. But I think definitely Georgia is capable of scoring, that 28 to 34 kind of range and winning a 31-27, 34-27 type of game. I think if it gets up into the 30s on Alabama's side, it will have to be exactly what Clint said. The offense is going to have to be in rhythm. Georgia is going to have to not waste possessions. They're going to have to score points. But I think Alabama can put up 27 and Georgia can win the game. Would feel real good if Georgia held them to 24. Would feel really, really good about winning that game. But 27, I think, is also possible.
See, 24 is my number. I'm gonna go the lowest of everybody, and it's a weird dichotomy because I think there's a pathway for Georgia to score 40 points in this game. 100%.
Yep.
But it does not involve – it's only in a blowout. You see what I'm saying? The only scenario where Georgia scores 40 points in this game is in a blowout. I don't think they can score 40 points in a shootout like Clint you're describing because a shootout has all sorts of different kinds of pressure on it. A shootout has the defense playing different sorts of coverages and schemes and game plans. When you're ahead by a bunch of points, you have tactical advantages in that game because defenses have to sell up. They got to do things. And so it's easy when you're up by a decent amount of points if you don't let your foot off the gas to extend that lead. You bust a big run or whatever, you extend that lead. I can see Georgia scoring 40 points. But if Alabama gets more than 24, I think there's going to be way too much pressure on Georgia's offense. And I just don't know that I'm ready for that kind of pressure to be put on Georgia's offense and feel like we have a reasonable chance to win the game. I do think Georgia can win a 27-24 game. I think they could win a 40-24 game. But I don't think they could win a 35-38 game, if that makes sense.
It does. I think what we're all saying is this. That score gets above a 2-possession game and grab some buckets. Like, grab a bucket.
I'll be buried in the bucket at that point.
I think that's what you hear us saying because, again, how these teams play out. Hey, we're going to come back after this, ask each other some more questions. But first, I want to let you know about NetSuite. This is it, the putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours. But on your back screen, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business? Poor visibility because you're relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software. To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth, visibility, and control over all your financials, inventory, HR, planning, budgeting, and more. NetSuite is everything you need to grow all in one place. NetSuite, you can automate your processes, close your books in no time while staying well ahead of your competition. 93% of surveyed businesses increase visibility. Over 28,000 businesses already use NetSuite for the new year. NetSuite has a new financing program for those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/locked. Head to netsuite.com/locked for the special one-of-a-kind financing offer on the #1 financial system for growing businesses, netsuite.com/locked.
All right, fellas, I got my question out there. Clint, what have you got for us?
How many QB pressures is it going to take to rattle Bryce Young, to make Alabama's offense off rhythm? How many pressures do we need to be successful on defense in this game? We got 30 against Michigan.
Yeah, that was that 30
pressures, which is, guys,
a wild number.
Somebody
lower expectation,
running for their lives.
Yeah.
Cade McNamara is still, he's still seeing ghosts and hearing Nakobe Dean, the wind of Nakobe waving his arm, calling the play right before he came.
I played football. I played football in college with a dude linebacker who shouted plays out as the play was happening. Yeah. He was running one way and he was telling me to cover another guy, and he's like, "The ball's coming your way," and I'm
always
like, "Where
fun.
are you?" That's Nakobe's Dean. It's just incredible. Yeah. Okay, so how many pressures? 30 was Michigan. Expect lower than that. How many pressures are you needing to see us have success on defense?
Daniel, you go first.
What I heard, Clint, was this dude had to carry you through this football season. he having to play his position, and he's having to play your position at the same time.
Was there any question that was the case?
No. I just wanted to clarify what I was hearing. I think here's my answer. Not as many as you think. That's my answer. Not as many as you think. Now, after the SEC championship game, all we could hear was Georgia didn't get any pressure on the quarterback. Georgia rushed for the whole game. Not true. Georgia rushed for the whole game. Not true. But we neglected to talk about what, John, you mentioned yesterday on the podcast, which was that William Poole and Lewis Cine almost single-handedly gave the game away.
Absolutely. Very true.
And especially in the case of Lewis Cine, he's played fantastic all season. He played exceptionally well against Michigan. William Poole played great against Michigan as well. He hasn't played as much as Cine this year, obviously, but those two guys had a historically bad performance on the back end. And a lot of it, if you just go back and watch the tape, a lot of it is not Bryce Young just standing there for 10, 12, 15 seconds. He's receiving the snap, taking 2 steps backwards, and then cutting it loose down the field. So it doesn't matter if you're bringing 7 on that play. You're not getting home on that play, and if the coverage is doo-doo on the back end, then you're still getting burned. And so if Georgia keeps the safeties over the top of Jameson Williams the whole game, if Georgia tackles people, if they're in position and not laying on the ground or trailing the play by 8 yards once they catch the ball, then the QB pressure is not nearly as – it's essential. It's necessary, but it's not as many as you think, because if Alabama's got to matriculate the ball down the field, I just like this Georgia defense's chance. I just like our chances. And so, give me 15, 12, 15 good QB pressures. Give me 3-4 sacks in the game. And force a turnover. That'd be great. But I don't think you're going to need as many as you think. I don't know. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think for me it's very similar to that range. I think Georgia needs to get 4 sacks. And I think that is much more of a mental just much more of a mental game that you need to win versus, someone like Bryce Young, who is, pretty young in his career at Alabama, obviously a fantastic quarterback, but I think you need to get to him, 2 or 3 times, preferably in the first half. So for me, I would say probably in that if you can hurry him 15 times, you have a really good chance of winning this game. If you can sack him 4 times and hurry him another, 10 or so, I think you have a really good chance of winning this game. So I don't think it needs to be. Certainly doesn't need to be 30. I also don't think I don't think people have said Auburn sacked Bryce Young 7 times or whatever it was. I don't think Georgia's got to do that, because I think Alabama is probably going to want to be more balanced than they were in the previous game. And so I think you got to tackle well. You got to play good sound coverage, not get beat over the top. And then you don't have to get to the quarterback that much.
Yep, 100%. Nobody's going to like this. Alabama fan, get ready to hate me. And a Michigan fan really liked me the first 2 days of the podcast.
Oh, yeah, big fan. Big fan of
Big
yours.
fan. Not anymore. I came after y'all after the game. But also, I'm going to liken Bryce Young. He's a great talent, but I'm going to liken to him somebody. 2018 Rose Bowl, Baker Mayfield. Okay, out here, and what were we able to do? I know Bryce Young. Nobody's going to like that. They ain't going to like that, y'all. But here's the deal. Bryce Young is not a Patrick Mahomes type player. He's not a cannon quarterback. He is somebody that likes to get around in the pocket, move, and do his Houdini thing back there so that he can find open receivers and take the shots. The offense predicates a lot of his success. The play call does so. Okay. So if it's not 2 seconds and out, it's not going well for him. And when he got in trouble against Auburn is when there was felt pressure. I know that sounds weird. Auburn got pressure. There's no doubt about that. They pressured him a bunch. But if we can make sure that we tackle well up front and basically just contain him, and the matriculation comment is exactly right. So yes, John, we keep him in front, tackle, keep coverage over the top, be sound. Just be sound.
Yeah.
And then make sure that they have to go 10 plays down the field. We're not Cincy. You're not doing 10 plays against us down the field. It's not going to happen. Limit Bryce Young's ability to do the quick, big hits, and I think we're just fine. So, yeah. By the way, against Baker, we had 5 sacks in that Rose Bowl where we shut him down the second half after giving up a whole bunch of points in the first half.
I don't think Georgia's scoring 54 in this one, boys. But
we're not.
We're not. But to your point, one last thing I'll say is Auburn. They sacked Bryce Young 6 times, but they only hurried him a 7 on top of that. So it wasn't. They were getting home when they got there, but it was in that exactly what you said, Daniel, in that 12 to 15 range that they were on top of him. So
fantastic.
Yep. That's exactly right. Hey, we're going to come back after this and ask one more question. But first, I want to let you know about Get Upside. It's an incredible app. Everybody needs and buys gas, but do you know about Get Upside? Listeners right now are saving up to 25 cents on every gallon of gas every time they fill up. I mean, every time.
That sounds good.
It sounds good. When you say every time.
Is it every time?
It's every. Hold on, John.
It's most
hold
times.
On. Let me go to the read. Every time.
Turns
out
every time. Whoa.
It's every.
Whoa.
Every time
he
you go to the pump.
He called the manager in the back. He got you a special deal, John. This is just for you. Don't tell anybody
this
about
is my
this.
man, John. Okay.
It's every time.
It's in the App Store or Google Play. Use promo code SCORE. Get a bonus 25. It's not just 25 cents a gallon every single time. You use promo code SCORE. You get an extra 25% right on top of that. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back at Get Upside. Just download the app. for free and use the promo code SCORE. Get up to 50-cent gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people drive a lot more, and they're making $200 to $300 a month cash back. Cash back gets added to your bank account. PayPal, eCard, Amazon. Use promo code SCORE. Get up to 50 cents a gallon back on your first tank. Code SCORE at Get Upside app.
Also want to let you know about betonline.ag. They are your online sportsbook expert. They are the place to go to place every wager that you want in sports. But let's be honest, you're only interested in one wager, and that is the national championship wager. And fellas, the line has moved in Georgia's favor. Georgia's now a 3-point favorite.
Inexplicably.
It's gone from 2.5 to 3, which is larger. So just real quick, I'm in the middle of the ad read. Are we locking up anything in this game? We got to lock it.
Continue with your ad read.
Let's go with betonline.ag is your online sportsbook expert. They're the place to go if you want to place any of these wagers. The national championships game's got 1 million prop bets attached to it. You can find those prop bets at betonline.ag. Over, under, spreads, parlays, money lines, teasers, whatever you want, you can find it. Multi-sport, whatever the sport of your choice is, BetOnline has it. Right now, enter the promo code LOCKEDON. You get a 50% bonus on your initial deposit. If you haven't made a deposit yet and you've been listening to me tell you about it all season long, you can still get that free money just in time for the national championship game on Monday. Go there, betonline.ag, enter that promo code, and get a 50% bonus on your initial deposit. John wishes he could get the 50% bonus, but he's already got an account, and so he can't.
I lost money on the Falcons 14.5 on Sunday. So
this man's betting on the Falcons.
My word!
Thank you, BetOnline for your fantastic.
Please
fantastic
pray
platform.
for him. BetOnline.ag is your online sportsbook expert.
I can't believe you're betting on Falcons.
Well, no,
games.
for the record, I bet the other side.
I don't.
It was a 14 game. The Falcons were 14.5 dogs. I bet for the Bills.
Buffalo. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, John, you got your turn up.
Yeah.
What
question?
What do you got?
So, guys, I would love to know for Georgia's offense, who has to touch the ball the most, and what's the kind of yards from scrimmage that player needs to have for you to feel very, very confident about Georgia winning this game? Who's your ringer? Rushing, receiving, yards, touches from scrimmage, and how many yards?
There's an obvious answer. And so I do happen to think it's the right answer. So I am going to say it. Brock Bowers needs to be the person that touches the ball the most, because you talked about it on yesterday's show, John. We don't need to get out here and try to distribute to 1 million different. We need to find mismatches. Well, guess who happens to always be lined up in a mismatch? Guess who was born a mismatch? Like
every single time. Guys, is Nick Saban a good evaluator of college football talent?
He might be.
You like to think he is.
Nick Saban said a true freshman on Georgia's football team, Brock Bowers, in his press conference this week said Brock Bowers is one of the premier football players in college football. That's what that guy said about Brock Bowers.
Well,
he stopped short of being 100% correct when saying he's the premier player.
Rat poison straight from the mouth of the head rat himself. Okay. It's Brock Bowers. He needs to have the most touches. And I suspect he'll have the most yards, because Brock Bowers loves to get him those 20 yards a clip. You know, he loves that little chunk of yardage.
Yep.
I'll give you a little caveat though.
Okay.
I think there's going to be a player in this game, and I could narrow it down to 2, but I don't know which one it will be. I think there's going to be a player in this game that's going to have a low number of touches and a very high number of yards. So I think one of those guys might end up being the player that gets the most yards in this game.
I love it.
if Brock Bowers is leading us in second half yards and touchdowns, just like if it's a repeat of SEC championship, it's not going to feel good. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Kyrus Jackson, Ladd McConkey, if they catch 2 balls for 85 yards, we doing just fine. Okay, I'm going to tell you that right now.
I got Ladd McConkey and Jermaine Burton are my two. Those are my two options for the deep threat. Yeah.
I love it. But if you're telling me that I can guarantee those guys get 2 touches over 85 yards, you choose one. I don't care, to be perfectly honest. Just get them on the outside, and they're going to make that top go off. That means Stetson has time. That means he's upright. That means we're taking the shots. And all of a sudden, then you get in the bounce attacks, and all of a sudden that James Cook, Zamir White tandem goes beautifully pitter-patter down the field. And so, Brock Bowers, clearly, he needs the touches, and he's going to get them. Like, there's no doubt about it. 13 receptions is not outside the question. But just let me see one play action with Ladd, one play action with Jermaine, and it's going to be something different. That hits different.
Yeah. I think for me, those are all correct answers. My gut tells me that James Cook needs to have 100 yards from scrimmage. For Georgia.
Needs for Georgia to win?
For me to feel very, very good about Georgia winning this game. Not for Georgia to win.
Around here somewhere. Let me find
No. I think Georgia absolutely. I think Georgia if Brock Bowers touches the ball a lot and gets chunk yardage, if Ladd McConkey, I would love to see Ladd McConkey get 3-4 carries in this game. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I'd love to see. I'd love to see us do 2 to 3 carries for Ladd McConkey or Brock Bowers combination. But if you're telling me, if you're like, hey, if you look at that box score on Tuesday morning, and what would make you feel very, very good that Georgia won that game would be James Cook with 100 yards from scrimmage. Both running and catching the ball.
You love to see it. Quick bonus question, John.
Okay.
How many snaps William Poole going to play in this game?
Man, that's a great question. I think the plan, in the Michigan game was he was out there starting the game, and he ended up playing 45 snaps. I would expect that he's going to play about that again in this game.
You still think we see a lot more William Poole than we do Latavius Brini?
I do. Yeah, I do. And the reason being is I think that coverage is still going to be the premier concern for Georgia, and not the edge game, the run game. I do think that it's really going to come down to what Alabama's able to do. If they're coming out and Robinson is getting the ball a lot, you're going to see a lot more of Brini. But Brini played 10 snaps versus Michigan, and William Poole played 45. William Poole played a lot more than that. I can't remember how many he played against Alabama, but it was a lot more than that. So I just don't see them. Yeah, and a lot of yards. But I don't see that changing at this point in the season, unless there's just a matchup that Lanning and Kirby decide to roll out there.
I just need an earbug to just one person in the Georgia facility this week. I just need a direct line to Christopher Smith and just whisper as he's falling asleep. Deep is the deepest. Deep is the deepest. Over and over and over.
Yeah, I think Chris Smith is going to be good. I think he's going to be good in this game. Yeah, I think that BS targeting.
Don't sleep on this is tomorrow's show. Yeah. Don't sleep on that targeting that Chris Smith got being the best thing that could have happened to Georgia.
Absolutely.
Guess who's coming off serious injury for the better part of the second half of the season and was just sort of getting himself back into shape? Guess who got to sit out the last 2.5 quarters of that game in a game where he was absolutely not needed whatsoever?
Absolutely.
Christopher Smith. Guess who is coming out angry with something to prove in this game? after getting rested and ready to go.
It's a great point. 30 days to recover. He played 65 snaps versus Alabama, and then got
He's
to
gonna be ready
versus whole half versus Michigan. So.
All right, we will be back tomorrow, and we will be talking all about this national championship game. So join us on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the audio podcast wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to this newsletter at dogdispatch.com, and join us tomorrow as we continue to get you ready for Monday night in the biggest game of the season. What are you trying to show me?
There it is.
There's that
dispatch.
There's that dog.
Come follow it. Let's go.
There's that dog dispatch. Get after it on Twitter and follow John Tweet Sports. You probably already do that. But if you're an Alabama fan, you want somebody to argue with, follow this John Tweet Sports, man. He will. He loves to hear it.
Listen, I will welcome, if you're tired of just spinning your wheels in the echo chamber of the YouTube comments. Come on over to Twitter, John Tweet Sports. I'm happy to stand in the paint so that you don't feel like you're just like talking to yourself in the YouTube comments. Talk to a real human on Twitter.
Sometimes John Tweet Sports gets in the YouTube comments and responds to y'all, so it's going to be
We'll see what happens. Listen, it depends on how good the bourbon is this week. We just may end up in some comments. We'll see what happens.
May end up in that comment section. All right, man. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Go